Hello and welcome to the Internet of Things Made Simple. I'm Larry Bohumer. This is episode number 21. Thanks for joining us. As always, shout out to our new listeners. There's been a ton in April. Welcome aboard. I encourage you to check out our webpage, theinternetofThingsMadeSimple.com, go figure, which has some great material like ebooks and podcasts and other blog posts that I've done. And as always, I humbly ask that you subscribe to this podcast using your favorite podcast service. I also apologize. I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so my voice is not quite normal. In our main segment, we're going to cover something that might sound boring, but it's actually quite exciting in how it can change any organization, regardless of your size and the market that you're in. And that's something called asset management. You're not going to want to miss this. Think of it as giving you the ability to see things with your eyes closed. But to get us started, we're going to talk about sleep, or at least the lack of it, as we're going to cover the top 6 things that keeps IoT teams and professionals up at night. Our recent survey from IoT World interviewed a little over 100 IoT leaders and professionals to find out what some of their main concerns were. They were asked to choose from a number of items and pick what was their number one concern, and it came up with kind of an interesting result. So let's start from the bottom, covering number 6, and that's the cost of upkeep. The survey mentioned that only 3% identified this as being an issue, and that kind of makes sense to me. Most solutions see immediate results with very short return on investments or ROIs, so even if there is some substantial upkeep cost, it's usually quite easy to justify by the cost saving and by the increased productivity and other things we've spoken about at length. Coming up in the number 5 slot, we have business buy-in. There are 2 issues that we want to talk about, which will help to reduce the level or fear of business buy-in. First, we need to taper our aggressiveness as an industry when it comes to those ROI models for customers. It's true, many IoT solutions could end up with having ridiculously short ROIs, often a matter of a couple months. However, this does sound a little bit too good to be true to most customers, and it often reeks of a snake oil salesperson. As well, most IoT literatures, although it has gotten a lot better, I have to admit, so congrats to the marketing people, you have got better at this. It often still contains a heck of a lot of industry acronyms and terms that customers either don't understand or find off-putting. We need to focus a lot more on the business gains in our work, but specifically for that customer. Showing them things that don't apply to their business is not going to help. Number 4 is scalability, which came in at about 10%. There's a few ways we can help as an industry here. I've spoken about this to death, but I'm going to mention here again. We need to increase the standards and interoperability among vendors so that people can change vendors or components much easier. As I've said before, the PC industry would not have taken off the way it did if once you bought a Dell or a Toshiba, you were locked in only to that system. As well, ease of integrating data into CRM and ERP will allow customers to upgrade their backend while still being able to use existing purchases and hardware. Now on to number 3, purchase cost, which was cited by 17%. This is always going to be an issue. Some companies out there in the IoT space are now offering leasing and turnkey models, and that's going to help a little bit. But there's always going to be a cost to get things up and running, both the fixed hard costs, as I call them, and the soft cost, downtime or loss of productivity temporarily. This all points back to the earlier point I mentioned on how we have to do a better job showing business gains that justify these costs and any integration efforts that might occur. All right, almost there. Number 2. And it's a biggie, as it is security, and that was listed by a quarter of those polled. Now, it's not like I haven't spent a lot of time on this topic, but to reiterate what I've said many times, devices need to come with an appropriate level of security for the market and for the customer base they're appealing to, and the security needs to be implemented by default. I was actually surprised that security was number 1. And on to number 1, which got 34% of the vote, and this definitely did surprise me, was the ability to implement the technology. This shows a few things. As I mentioned earlier, we need to have a higher interoperability so that customers don't have to do a lot of the work and things just kind of work themselves internally. Manufacturers and distributors need to better equip channels and resellers with the ability to not only sell and service equipment, but to offer more turnkey solutions, and this will help to reduce that need for the customer. And finally, we need to further bolster the ability to set up units quickly, often over the air, and this will reduce the time to market. A few other points that the survey mentioned. Almost half the respondents said they're putting IoT devices onto a dedicated network, meaning that they're probably not liking the level of security we offered. So that does reinforce point number 2. we have a lot of work to do in making security of IoT better. About the same percentage are offering internal training systems to increase usability and reduce issues. It did mention, however, something I've spoken about in the past, is that you need to have buy-in from every level of your company, right down to the frontline workers. On a more positive note, 2/3 added that their C-suite executives, so the top brass, fully supported all of their IoT efforts. I'd like to see that higher, because I think the number would be a lot higher for, I'm going to buy some PCs for the company, but it's at least a good start, and it's probably better than it was a few years ago. Finally, only 68% said they had upgraded firmware and software on a regular basis, which I imagine is a lot lower than other devices out there in the IT world. This is where better overall tools and offerings from the vendors can help to increase this overall number. When we get back from a short break, we're going to go over that extremely exciting topic, asset management, which is likely the most powerful IoT application for the vast majority of customers out there in the business and government market. And it's one that can truly change an organization if it's done right. I'm going to tell you all about it in a few seconds. And welcome back. So to kick this segment off, let's talk about what asset management is. Many have heard about applications like AVL or vehicle tracking, and like it sounds, it helps you keep track of your vehicles and different aspects of them. There's some similarities here, but what I'm talking about is possibly much more information, and it's going to be on just about every asset and space or area that an organization may use. This is going to happen over time. Asset management consists of 3 different components. The first is either built into the device or it's separate, and that's the ability to gather information locally. In some cases, the device, as I mentioned, has this internally. An engine might have a built-in sensor or the ability to report things like how long it's run for and what temperature it's operating at. In other cases, external sensors are used to gather this information. So, a temperature sensor might tell you the temperature inside of a key fridge, and a water sensor can tell you if you get a flood in your basement. I think that's pretty easy to understand. No matter how it's done, that information is gathered. Gathering that information is totally useless if it just sits there. And that's where the next part comes in, connectivity. There are 2 parts to any communication. The first is the local area part. Think technologies like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or even the old Ethernet cable that you plug into the wall. From there, the data needs to be sent to some kind of a system, and that's usually using some kind of a long-haul communication method. That might sound nerdy, but it's really not. This could be a cellular connection, or it could be your office or your home internet connection. Simple as that. Now, you've gathered all this data and it's gone somewhere. It needs to be put into a way that allows you or your team to take action, and that's where software comes in. In many cases, that software is now hosted in a cloud-based service, but it could also be locally at your office or on your own system, and it takes that data and puts it into an actionable state. So now it's a text message to let you know that freezer stopped working. It's a graph that shows you a trend that allows you to better schedule your staffing needs. There's all kinds of examples here. The software could be something that you already have, and that allows you to integrate into existing systems, or as I mentioned, it could be a cloud-based service. All this technology is great, but if you don't see some kind of benefit to your operations or to your organization, it's a complete waste of money. While all solutions and companies are different, there are some very common benefits that virtually all organizations should see from the right asset management solution. And that's the key point. It has to be the right one for your company. The first is productivity gains, and it's not hard to imagine why. If you and your team are getting real-time information, you don't have to drive to a remote site as often. You can possibly bring along the right equipment each time for that repair and the parts that go along with it, and you're not going to have as much downtime on your machines. All of these things make your team more productive. They also make us safer, which is number 2. Temperature sensors can alert you to high temperatures in an area, or even the presence of smoke. If your team works in environments that have heavy amounts of electricity, a water sensor can prevent a potentially fatal encounter. It also improves the safety of your customers. Many of us know that today's cars can last a long time, even if you don't look after them all that well. However, if you do some routine maintenance, and thanks to sensors, you know when you're experiencing issues, all of your devices are going to last a lot longer and require much less costly repairs. So I grew up in a house that had enough for the essentials. I definitely didn't go hungry, but we didn't have a ton for more. So I grew up to hate waste. That's what my dad drilled in our heads. I still roll up the toothpaste to get every single little nibble or bite out of it. Smart companies also know that eliminating waste is good for the bottom line. IoT prevents waste in many ways, especially point number 6, which is coming up in a bit. But we're going to start with point number 5 for now, and that's that it gives you better customer service. Your team can fix more issues over the air. They can prevent technicians or staff from having to go back to a site multiple times, and they can ensure that customers get the information they need right away. Finally, as hinted, number 6 is about reducing waste, and in this case, we're talking about lower energy costs. Why heat areas where no one is, or run a fridge at a higher temperature than it needs to be because it's not opening? Going green is good for your image and, of course, your bottom line. Over the next little bit in this episode, I'm going to cover how asset management solutions help several key vertical markets. Now, don't fret and don't turn off if you're not one of these markets. I've intentionally chosen examples that are very broad in nature, and it's very likely that your organization will see benefits from at least a few of the similar ones for you, if not for all of them. The first area is the food industry, and this is such a big market. And not only is it a big market, it's a very diverse market. It kind of boggles my mind. I'm talking restaurants, food merchants, food processors and handlers, food delivery services, and much more. They're all part of this. So without saying, it's very big business. One of the biggest costs in all steps of food processing, delivery, and preparation is keeping things cold and at the ideal temperature. It's just kind of bad for business if customers get sick or if merchandise spoils prematurely at your vendor. Asset management solutions work with AI to not only tell you what's going on with the fridge, they help to better optimize how your fridge works, taking into account the number of times that a door might open and that the temperature doesn't have to be as low, as an example. If you serve food, you're going to want to keep customers happy. That's kind of why they come back. Sensors make sure that all customer areas are the right temperature, and no one's being blasted with the unwanted level of sunlight in their face. Keeping food at the right temperature is just one way to prevent food from being spoiled. It can also be spoiled if it's forgotten about. RFID tags allow you to be alerted if a particular item is ready to use, like if it's being marinated or some kind of a preparation cycle, or if it's close to hitting its usability cycle. Finally, every aspect of the food industry uses some sort of heavy machinery. Delivery vehicles, ovens, processing machines, cutters, you kind of get the point. Keeping them up and running at all times by knowing what's going on before they fail is good for your business. The second area is also massive, as it's retail. Retail used to be a store with 4 walls and a roof. That's no longer the case anymore. Yeah, there's still an awful lot of traditional brick and mortar locations, but retail now happens in a mobile environment, temporary retail, pop-up stores, seasonal stores, flea markets. The list could go on and on. Just like food, it's important to keep the storage area at optimal conditions and secure. Sensors alert you to things that could prevent waste, theft, and even keep your team safe. It might alert them to an earthquake, as an example, that tells them to get away from the shelves. I don't see the average retailer paying too much attention to things if a customer picks up an item and carries it around the store in their cart. No one follows me around the store with my mouthwash, as an example. Make that a $10,000 bottle of scotch or wine from a high-end dealer, and I'm pretty sure that might change. Keeping track of high-value items, so is the case opened or damaged, or to keep track of them inside of the store and even outside of the store if they were to steal them, can help reduce costs for retailers. Now, picture a retail store in your brain. I don't think heavy machinery comes to mind for most people. However, depending on the store, it could have cutting machines, large coffee makers, cleaning machines, and of course, every store has an expensive HVAC device. Asset management solutions can optimize and ensure these devices are running at all times. Amazon has been both a blessing and a curse for retailers, depending on who you ask. For those who can really step up their game, they can compete very well and stand out much better. One way they can do this is to have better logistics. Asset management solutions allow you to keep track of all your shipments, no matter where they are. It could be on their way from the manufacturer or the distributor. It could be between your locations or even in your own warehouse. Finally, like all industries, retailers are forced to work on lower margins during tough times. Energy costs are reduced dramatically by IoT without affecting customer service or your level of safety. Now I'm going to ask you to do one of those visualization things again. Think of construction. When I do it, I think of large machinery like a crane, very hardworking men and women doing a very tough job, and maybe a bunch of dudes whistling at pretty girls when they walk by. You probably don't think of technology though. Construction companies are thinking of technology and they're starting to catch up very quickly to other industries, and they're using asset management solutions to improve their business. Many of us grew up playing in the sandbox with toys that resemble the equipment used on many of these sites. However, what they use is definitely not toys. These are machines that can often cost millions of dollars. Keeping them working is just not an option. IoT prevents unwanted downtime and maximizes their productivity levels. And it isn't just the big toys that these solutions can look after. They keep an eye on tools, jacks, hammers, drills, and more to let you know where they are and to prevent unwanted theft. No matter what we do, construction's always going to be dangerous, but keeping track of conditions can help keep your team safe. Knowing when it's too hot, cold, or the presence of unwanted water or an earthquake can be the difference between life and death for your team members. Theft is unfortunately an ever-pressing issue at many sites. Asset tags and monitoring solutions help prevent theft of key materials and diesel fuel from your storage tanks. Most people have a rough idea what I mean when I say logistics, but here is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the areas of the field of getting things from A to B: transportation, delivery people, warehousing, storage, customs, and a lot more. One common application, where they are, you'll know how they're being operated, and you'll know if your team members who are operating them or riding them are safe. I think we've all seen the UPS and FedEx employees scan our package when it's delivered. You know, they always seem to come when you're in the shower, so you're probably standing there in a towel. That system relies on a cellular connection either in the smartphone or back in the vehicle when they get back there to know where it is. That's great if you have that kind of a system. In many cases, though, you want to track the actual package, and many tracking solutions are now self-contained, so there's a built-in cellular and/or satellite to keep track of that package. Another common area benefits from the overall solutions in this area that crosses over into many markets is monitoring of key storage areas. Regardless of what the requirements are, keep them at the ideal temperature, humidity, and whatever other variable you need to track to protect them. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your forklifts are? If you're old like me, you'll remember that's how they used to start the news at night. But they weren't asking about forklifts, they were asking about your children. IoT allows you to keep track of your forklifts, and I guess your children in that case, to know where they are at all times. The last market that we're going to cover before a short break is agriculture. Like construction, you don't really think of technology if I mention a farm. You think of rolling fields, rows of crops, maybe the smell of manure. Yeah, I live kind of close to a farm. However, they are being pressed to do more, to grow more food per acre than ever before, and to do so while reducing their impact on the environment. This has forced farms to become quite techy. Farms normally use a combination of groundwater or maybe water from a lake or a river to irrigate their crops. These sources can be cyclical, and in some cases there's a finite amount of availability. IoT solutions are reducing the amount of water that's needed to ensure there is some for future generations. Most farms store a lot of things. Maybe it's the seed, maybe it's fuel used for operation, grain used for feed, or after the grain has been grown. Sensor-based solutions alert to the level of product and if somebody's trying to steal it. Farms use pretty cool big equipment, tractors, diggers, milking machines. Yeah, I guess that's one of the machines they use, and so much more. Downtime really isn't an option if you're during a certain time of the year. Things just have to be produced. Any kind of solution that can help to maintain maintenance, to verify the operating conditions, and even give their location helps the farm tremendously. Now, when I did some research for the book, I was astounded by the level and number of solutions that look after the condition of farmers' animals. Yeah, there are RFID tags to know where they are, but I was just shocked. There's so many biometric solutions to keep track of their well-being. So as I've joked around before, a Fitbit for cows. When we come back from our final break, we'll look at how asset management solutions help you in the office and industrial sites, as well as recap the top 5 things you need to remember about asset management solutions. You're not going to want to miss that. Back in a few seconds. And welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. One show that I still find funny is The Office. I think we all know a Michael, a Jim, a Dwight, whoever it might be from the show, if you've ever worked at an office. The term office doesn't quite mean as much as it used to, though, because people are working from home now more than ever, And many of us use virtual offices like I do, and other ones use the local Starbucks as their office. If you do work in a real office, though, you know the value of keeping key machinery up and running, and I'm not just talking about the coffee maker. That is vital, though. Items like your key AV equipment, maybe you have some high-end printers, and more, need to keep working. IoT solutions keep track of them and keep them safe and secure. There are several ways that offices use asset management solutions to improve productivity. Keeping the office at an ideal temperature, reducing the clerical work involved in finding meeting rooms, and let's face it, that is a real thing, and even using automated solutions to water the plants can all help. One doesn't think of an office as a dangerous place, unless someone like Dwight is running in an unexpected fire drill. If you haven't seen that episode of The Office, you really need to. That scene where Angela throws her cat up to the rafters to save it, that is just so funny. You'll know what I mean. In all seriousness, though, asset management solutions can warn of intruders, earthquakes, gunmen, and much more. Finally, you'll hear a common benefit again and again among all these solutions. It reduces your energy cost. This reminds me of a meme that's about the walking dad, as it's called. No, he's not a zombie. He just walks around the house in a daze, turning off lights to save electricity all the time. Kind of a play on The Walking Dead. If your office has one of those, great, but most don't. And if you don't have it, asset management solutions can basically do the same thing. And this allows Dad to take a bit of a break. Now, the final area is such a broad one, we're just going to touch on it, and that's industrial sites. I want to talk about, oil and gas production sites, factories, pipelines, laboratories. These areas all have very specific requirements for things like safety equipment, the temperature it needs to operate at, moisture levels, and probably 20 other things. Asset management solutions prevent unwanted downtime. They definitely improve employee safety, and they improve their overall reliability. Before we touch on the 5 things you need to remember about asset management solutions, I did want to point out that you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to benefit from these solutions. Any company or any organization can. Small companies, even that one-person shop, can use turnkey solutions to let you know what's going on, because let's face it, you can't be everywhere you need to be. These solutions don't bug you unless you want to be bugged. You set up the level of alerts you want. If you want to be notified every time a door is opening, great. But if you just want to be notified if the temperature of your fridge is not right, that's all you get too. So now imagine you have a dozen locations or so, and maybe you kind of have a bit of an IT staff. That makes you a small to medium business, more likely on the medium side. These kind of businesses benefit from the scalability of these solutions. They also benefit from the fact that they can be customized, and they allow you to start off small and they grow with your business. Finally, you're one of the big boys. You are one of the big companies out there. No two companies at this size ever do things the same. These solutions can be as unique as you need them to be, and they're meant for your needs today and in the future. So I hinted at it. The last thing we're going to cover is the top 5 takeaways that you want to have about these offerings. 1, they make your assets last longer, and that helps you with reducing costs, but more importantly, for the point number 1, it helps to better use your capital dollars. 2, as I hinted at, they do reduce your operating costs. 3, they improve your customer service levels. 4, they maximize your employees' productivity levels. And 5, they do reduce your impact on the environment, which is obviously good for the environment, but it's also good for your pocketbook as well. Thanks again for listening. As mentioned before, podcasts get put up sometime on Wednesday, and they're perfect to listen to over breakfast on a Thursday. If you want to get a hold of us, we look forward to hearing from you. The best place to start is our Facebook page, The Internet of Things Made Simple, go figure, where we post links to podcasts and to blogs and ebooks and other things we've done. If we're connected on LinkedIn, that's a good place to start. Look forward to hearing from you there. And if we're personally connected, drop me an email or text. Thanks for listening. I'm Larry Boy Humor. Take care.